Jimmy, let us know.
Yeah, what?
Wait till Jimmy's ready.
I'm good.
Okay, so our project's on online privacy, as you can see. And this is just a video. Oh,
It's about privacy in general.
(1301). Target updates his social network. This data is monitored by the police. It is also logged and used for data mining and targeted advertising. 1311. Target uses his transport card. Data is logged and accessible by police systems. 1320. Target uses an app on his smartphone. Geolocation data is logged and shared with third parties. 1348. Target searches the internet. This data, including the subject of the search, is attached to his profile and logged. All this data has been given away in a single lunch hour by an innocent member of the public. How much information do you give away every day, and who has access to it? Read a new report about our privacy. Search online for Privacy International. But beware, your search will be logged.
okay, so what is privacy? This is the definition of privacy according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary. And basically, the way that I see privacy is that it's information that's not public knowledge that you do not intend to make public knowledge. This is a quote from MSNBC, an article about the internet. And as it says online, we don't need to use our real name. And because we're not using our real name or anything like that, we think that everything that we do is private. But this is not the case because all of our information, like what we're doing online, what we're looking at, is monitored and logged and sold often to marketing companies. So is there a constitutional right to privacy? The right to privacy was first established in Griswold versus Connecticut, and basically, like a really quick summary of the case, there's a Connecticut act, like a statute, that made the use of contraceptives illegal, and the Supreme Court found that that violated marital privacy, and there's no actual, anywhere in the Constitution doesn't say that there's a right to privacy, but it's inferred, like, from the First, Third, Fourth, and Ninth Amendment of the Constitution. So a reasonable expectation of privacy, that was also developed from the Supreme Court case Katz versus United States, and they found that the Fourth Amendment was violated in this case because of a reasonable expectation of privacy, because the Fourth Amendment protects people, not places. So technically, we do have privacy rights online, and we are entitled to our Fourth Amendment protections, and that's why, like, when governments are trying, like, if you're in a court case, you can't just get your emails or stuff like that. You need a search warrant to search computers and everything like that. And then this is some of the things taken from the Massachusetts state privacy laws. And on the left right here, this is the requirements, like, of companies. They have to protect your privacy, and the company doesn't actually need to do it itself. It can be done through a third party as well. And then on the right here, that statute says that every person that owns or licenses personal information about a resident of the Commonwealth shall develop a security program that is written in one or more readily accessible parts, including administrative, technical, and physical safeguards. So basically, that means that any company or anyone that possesses any kind of personal information about a Massachusetts state resident must have it safeguarded to protect it, and the safeguards need to be effective for the business, the size of the business, and the type of data, and then that need for security. So what happens when a company's security is breached? TJ Maxx. Failure to protect privacy. So in 2007, the TJ Maxx companies were hacked, as I'm sure a lot of you already know. And the information was stolen off credit cards from November of 2003 to June of 2004. And even customers that were making returns, like, without a receipt were affected by this. And TJ Maxx actually did have a security system in place, but it was not as effective as it should have been. And then this is just other state privacy laws. So in Nevada and Minnesota, they require internet service providers to keep certain customer information private, and customers can allow the internet service providers to give out this information. And the internet service providers cannot provide any personally identifying information. And then in Minnesota, you need to get permission for providing like browsing habits online. And then California and Utah also have similar statutes where they say that all non-financial business need to inform customers of the information that they're trading and selling. And then Connecticut and Delaware have laws for the employers monitoring employee internet access. And in Delaware and Connecticut, both states, the employer has to notify the employee that they're going to monitor them. But in Connecticut, the employer can actually just check your email and your internet usage without warning you if they can get you're involved in illegal activity. So that can kind of violate your privacy, but I guess not. If that's something that they're notifying you of and you're working for them, you have to accept it.
Okay, I'm going to start off kind of just giving an overview of the entire U.S. I mean, Elaine just kind of did it too, but just again, the U.S. is more of a hands-off approach, but the federal government is becoming more interested in regulating the internet, such as like child pornography and gambling. And then as of September 11, 2001, the U.S. Patriot Act was amended in 2006, and this makes it easier for the government to access records, mainly for the fact that they want to protect its citizens. But a case that really stood out to me was U.S. versus Warshak, and Warshak owned a company in Berkeley, California, and he sold, he called them nutraceuticals. So he sold herbal male enhancements, but his in 2004, his sales reached $250 million, and he had presented false information. He was basically giving people free trials and then kind of signing them up for auto ship. So after their free trial, they just started getting sent these pills. So after this, the government seized 27,000 private emails through his ISP, his internet service provider. And on June 12, 2006, he filed a claim against the U.S. seeking that his Fourth Amendment rights were violated, and this was affirmed by the 6th District Court that he did have a right to privacy. But then in September of 2006, a grand jury in Ohio returned an indictment with more than 100 counts of bank fraud, mail fraud, money laundering, and a list of other things. And on August of 2008, Warshak received 25 years in prison. He had to pay a fine of $93,000, and he had to forfeit over $500 million. And but the court held that the government agents violated Fourth Amendment when they used his ISP to get the email of his contents, the content of his emails. But that the issue that the court dealt with was that the expectation of privacy is afforded to the email host on their remote server. So basically that they still need a search warrant before seizing emails. And this is what the Netherlands is doing. This website is pretty cool. It's www.startpage.com. And when you use this search engine, it doesn't record your IP address. And this privacy policy was created in response to people that were fearful of companies retaining their information and it might be misused, sold to other companies. The company says if the data is not stored, a user's privacy can't be breached. And this is on its privacy policy page. So about IP addresses, IP address that is associated with your search engine search will not be recorded. The only exception to this is for abusive queries that rather than submit a bunch of searches at the same time. so that they think it's just like a computer doing it. The information that they share